Hi class, welcome to Understanding the Fieldwork Assignment video. This video will give you tips and help you prepare for your fieldwork assignment. First of all, everything that I'm going to be discussing is located in the Major Assignments folder on the course material page. If you click on that folder, you'll see a list of major assignments for the course. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the folder for fieldwork paper. If you open it up, you'll see a set of instructions. Here it is again. Open the folder up and you'll see a set of instructions. This set of instructions gives you the details for how to complete the assignment. There's also a rubric. Your fieldwork is due December 13th and it's worth 20% of your grade. It's one of the few assignments that cannot be turned in late or revised due to when it occurs in the semester. Your job is to observe a classroom in the school for a minimum of 6 hours. You might question why 6 hours when there's 10 more hours of fieldwork required. It's because I plan for you to observe for 6 hours and then to take 4 hours or so to write your paper. Make sure you observe in a classroom that corresponds to your certification area. So for example, if you're adolescent, grades 7 to 12, you should be observing in an adolescent classroom. It helps if you can match your subject area. So for example, if you're adolescent social studies, you would try to get into an adolescent social studies for observation. If you're elementary, you're going to observe in grades 1 to 6. If you're pre-K, you're going to observe, or early childhood rather, you're going to observe in pre-K through grade 2. You cannot observe in a classroom in which you're a teaching assistant or take an active role in teaching. This is because you cannot be a teacher and observe at the same time. Mercy does track your fieldwork placements, and we do encourage you to have a diversity of fieldwork. So don't always go back to the same school. I know it can be intimidating to cold call a school and ask to observe, but there are ways to do that. Call the school administrator or secretary, identify yourself, say you need to do this to complete an assignment, and ask if their school allows that. There is a permission to observe form in the major assignment fieldwork folder. You don't have to turn this in to Dr. H. Instead, you would print it out and give it to a principal or a teacher, whoever asked at the school to see it. It verifies, but it is a letter signed by the dean and it verifies that this is a valid assignment. Before we begin to discuss the details of how to complete the assignment, please note that these assignments will be put through Safe Assign and checked for plagiarism. Also note that you cannot use one observation for more than one classroom assignment. So you can't use a fieldwork observation for my classroom for 506 and another class that you're taking. Each observation should be unique. You're going to go into the classroom and you're going to quietly observe and not partake in the classroom lesson. You're going to take lots of notes. You're going to take notes about the date, the time, when you arrived, how long you stayed, the teacher's name. You're going to take notes about the classroom, how many students, boys, girls, what was the classroom setting like, how were the desks arranged. You're going to try to figure out what the learning standard was, and if you don't know, you need to ask the teacher because that's part of the rubric that you'll see later. What standard or learning objective was the teacher covering? You're going to take notes on the lesson, and this should be enough detail for the reader to be able to follow and understand what was occurring step by step in the lesson. It won't be the majority of your paper, but it should be a page or so that you can get into enough detail to describe that. You're going to pay particular attention to the use of assessment in the classroom. And so this isn't just quizzes and tests. Any time a teacher tries to understand what it is students know or do not know, that's assessment. So think about assessment in all its forms: formative, pre-assessment, summative assessments, performance assessments, and more. And so you might want to review the lectures, or you might want to review your textbook so that you can understand all the different forms that those assessments might take. You might notice, for example, the teacher walking around the classroom observing students. And you might ask her later, what were you doing then? What were you trying to understand what students know? That's assessment. So you're going to write in great detail about the forms of assessment that you see occurring. How often did you see it occurring? And you could ask the teacher, if you don't understand, what type of assessment accommodations does he or she make for diverse learners? Your paper should be 4 to 6 pages long, and it should cover the sections that we talked about before. In addition, you need to write a reflection. A reflection is different than a conclusion. A reflection asks, what did you learn? So look at the bullet points on the screen. What ways were your experiences similar to, different from your prior ideas on assessment before this observation and before this class? What surprised you? What did you learn that you may take back into your own classroom? You can write a conclusion as well, but it's the reflection that is going to really tell us what you learned from this assignment. You have to have 3 references and citations and references in APA style to support your citations. Finally, you're going to submit your paper to Blackboard and complete your fieldwork form on Chalk and Wire. If you don't have an account, if you're new to Chalk and Wire, or if you have questions, please email our coordinator, Harriet Liu, at hliu@mercy.edu. If you email me with questions, I'll likely ask you to contact our coordinator, Harriet Liu. At some point when you're doing your fieldwork log, you're going to be asked a question about whether you wish to submit a disposition survey to your instructor. Please answer yes. This allows me to assess your dispositions. Well, what are dispositions? They are, how do you professionally communicate, and what's your professional demeanor towards others? So if I can see that you've been respectful in your discussions, if you're timely with your assignments, if you are respectful in your communication with me and others, if you use good grammar and good spelling, I can truthfully acknowledge that you have excellent dispositions. But you do need to say that you're willing to submit that before I can fill it out. Here you can see the grading work for the field work. So you can see I'm going to grade it based on whether you fully describe the context of the observation, and there's a checklist there that you can see: the name of the school, the location, demographic information, etc. Whether you included a standard or a learning target or objective, whether you sufficiently described the lesson, whether you describe lots of different forms of assessment. I will also score your reflection, whether it was thoughtful and indicated that you learned something that you can take back to the classroom, whether you had 3 citations and appropriate references to match. They can be from your textbook, whether you use good writing mechanics in APA, and whether you submitted your fieldwork log and answered yes to the question about the disposition survey. That's it. Any questions, please email me at nhalbrenner@mercy.edu.